Hey guys.
Hello. You guys hear me okay?
Yep, I can hear you.
All right. Let me change my name here. All right. Well, I just finished up my vacation and flew home. Just settling back in. I don't have much to talk about. At some point, I can show Vertex. So if we have absolutely nothing, I can go through that. But I can also wait a little while. Yeah, I mean, I looked a little bit more at the graph libraries, but I don't think I have too much to share there. Yeah, I think that's all I have that I can think of. Sujit, how about yourself?
So I wasn't able to make any headway on the issue I talked about, the vector search issue. My results still suck compared to the results from regular Lucene search. I thought maybe it was FICE was not normalizing before doing cosine similarity. It turned out not to be the case. Before I submitted it to the FICE index, I normalized them, the vectors for each row. Still didn't help. So I'm kind of stuck on that. So that is one. Also,
that's such a bummer to be stuck like that.
I know, yeah.
I mean, it seems like there's something stupid going on. You'll probably in a month turn around and figure out what happened, or
pretty
have
much,
to approach.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that it must be something I'm doing wrong, but I can't figure out what. We'll find out. I mean, it's there, simmering somewhere.
Yep.
Then Mayank from the DL PyTorch team, he pointed out that Hugging Face is actually doing a JAX community event. So JAX is like, yet another language to do neural networks like PyTorch and Keras, except that it is fully functional, right? It's a purely functional language. So when you, and typically, neural networks have state, right? They have weights, and even optimizers, they have state. So the deal here is that with JAX, you get to write pure functional code. So anytime you want to update your neural network, you have to pass in. So you're holding all the weights outside, right, by yourself. And you just pass it into the network and it does its thing. They also have abstractions on top, which are more object-oriented, so people can start using it. The big use case for FAX is, or JAX in basically, is its use in TPUs, because TPUs are highly parallel. And you want to exploit the parallelism, and functional programming is one way to exploit it, because you share nothing, right? You just share code in each of the threads. So it makes sharing much more, or parallelism much more efficient. So I think that is the big driver for JAX in general.
So I'm sorry. Are you saying that the reason, probably the reason it's written as a pure functional language, is so it could take advantage of parallel TPU usage?
Yes.
So it must have higher memory, but probably not that big a deal because it's just
Oh, TPUs have like very much higher memory. It's like 300 GB or something. I haven't fully, I've just been looking at, or hearing these talks, and, these numbers just flash by. So I haven't actually done anything with it yet. So,
So do we know who is choosing this course of? I mean, I think about Yuri and yourself, and not using GPUs, still using CPUs. Maybe that's just at inference time. I'm not sure.
Inference time,
but I think is JAX really just being used by really high-end, large-scale company stuff? Like the researchers.
Could be. I think it is getting some traction, or at least they're trying to push it towards industry usage. And Google is the purveyor of TPUs, obviously, right? You can go to Google Cloud and get it. That's probably the only way to get it now, or except for maybe Kaggle. Kaggle also does it through Google Cloud somehow. And so I think they're trying to get people to use it. And a bunch of, so here's the thing, the big driver for it is that Hugging Face is now supporting JAX-Flex models, along with
Oh.
TensorFlow and PyTorch. Yeah.
I mean, I see it's gaining momentum. I've
Yeah.
seen it being mentioned and talked about. So who wrote JAX again? What corporation or who's behind that?
I think either DeepMind or Google Brain, one of the two groups.
Yeah. Okay, I get it. So it's really is a library driven by using TPU.
Yes.
And there must be some really key use cases. I think of edge computing for some reason, but I doubt it that has to do with it.
Well, JAX actually can work on CPU and GPU as well. And
Good.
same
Okay.
code exactly, unlike Keras, which requires, it requires some amount of work to get you to use TPUs. TF Keras, right? Not Keras by itself. And PyTorch has recently, as of I think last month, they have begun to support TPUs.
Okay.
So
your plan, you're just keeping an eye on it and exploring it. You don't have any specific plans for it?
no, I don't have any specific plans for it, but so Mayank basically pointed us to this. And following these talks, they're going to have like a community event where it's like a hackathon almost, where they give you, each team, they give you a TPU. And so 4 of us have signed up. Gautam is one of them. Gautam, Mayank, Arto, I don't know if you guys know him. And there is one other guy called Vivek something. I'm not sure what his name is. So 4 of us from the 2ML group have signed up, and we are basically trying to fine tune a clip model on satellite imagery. So initially we wanted to fine tune a clip model on medical images, but that was already taken. Somebody already thought of that project idea, so we switched to satellite imagery.
What did you say? What click with?
Clip models. So clip model is basically a contrastive image/text model. So I have been thinking about this earlier, but not clip. There is a paper called Convert, CONVIRT, where they demonstrated, taking an image and caption dataset and creating an embedding, a shared embedding between image and text, whereby if you give it an image, it can generate a caption, or it can generate a similar image. If you give it a piece of text, it can give you an image, right? So it's good for image search, I think, because you can do text to image and image to image. So that was my main interest in that model. But since then, some people have done a transformer version of that called Clip, which is for general images. It is good for zero shot even, apparently. So I actually plan to try it. I haven't tried it yet. Just downloading the clip model. It's available on Hugging Face. Downloading the clip model, passing it a piece of text, seeing what images come out, or passing it an image, seeing what image things can come out, and so forth.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, I mean, those are the next things I'd like to really learn about and explore at some point. The next things I'm waiting for to be mature a little more. One of them is zero shot. And I think that with GPT-3, it's actually, for classification, it might actually work well. But, I don't have access to that. And then, I don't know what the other thing was. Maybe some generative stuff. Yeah. Okay, that sounds great. Very interesting. When does it start?
Next week.
Okay.
Yeah, next week it goes on for 1 week.
Yep. I started listening to the graph recordings. The TWIML class.
The CS224 or the DL PyTorch? Yeah, because at this point, both of us are doing graphs, right? So even for the DL PyTorch, the current one is graph neural networks for this last week and this week. And on CS224, of course, it's all graphs. So yeah, they're also doing graph neural networks at that point.
Okay, DL PyTorch, did not realize. The other thing when I was exploring, what I did explore after our last meeting on graphs was, like I said, all the examples were the where that science journal of the graphs and just citations from
Okay.
the SageGraph or whatever it was. It wasn't SageGraph, Stellar Graph library.
Right.
But I looked at another library, the DA. What is it? The DL.
DLG.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
DLG.
Deep,
Right.
Yeah.
But I also, I don't know, maybe actually it wasn't that. It was. I looked at some more examples on the Stellar Graph, and then I did some reading, and then I looked at the GGL. And it was interesting because they have an old Stellar Graph has an old. So I'm like, okay, so what? You have bag of word vectors, right, for each node. But I'm wondering, can you have other information, right, along with that? So, I mean, obviously, what I found is there was an example of, I mean, you probably already know this, but there was an example of, I can't remember what it was, but it was a tabular data science example. So basically, it looks like with Stellar Graph you have one feature set, but that feature set in our, is it doesn't have to be, a bag of words vector space, right? Feature graph or whatever. Instead, it could just be whatever you want for features as long as they're, numbers, floats.
Right.
So what they showed was you took all of this, I can't remember what it was for, something with Twitter, people who are Twitter spammers, trying to identify which people are like spammers or something,
I see. Okay.
or haters, whatever, people who do attacks and stuff on other people. And so they had all these different fields, columns, just like a tabular problem, not an NLP problem. Although part of it used some NLP stuff. But so what they did is they just used a power normalization, curve normalization, which is, not an NLP thing, right? It's very much a tabular data science way of normalizing all of your features. And then that just became your feature set. Which really is the same thing as the bag of words. You just have a matrix, so you just have one matrix.
Okay.
I mean, you can have whatever dimensions you want within that, but it was the same thing. It was just another matrix. So they worked exactly the same way. In other words, whether you're using a bag of words for NLP or you're using a normalized set of features for a tabular problem. So which makes sense, right? Because if you think about graph stuff, a lot of graph stuff is you're importing data from SQL, from different sources.
Right.
And not just SQL, but other places, and you put them all together in one place, and then you have a tabular problem, and you do it. So, it showed. I mean, it makes sense, obviously, but I actually got a real concrete example where it shows that you can do that sort of a problem in a machine learning, with the graph neural networks, graph convolutional networks in these libraries. And of course, then you start thinking about how to deal with multimodal and stuff like that. But so that was good. To me, that was a big advance to have a concrete understand how you did. Now, the other thing is that when I looked at DGL, first thing I realized is it's clear that Stellar Graph is, it's a great place to go and try a bunch of different methods, right? Just through their API without having to do really any neural network architecture or anything, okay? So, but you could try out all of the different algorithms for embeddings that have been used up till now. And then, but the DGL is more, to me, is a little more like PyTorch Lightning. It's where you fundamentally go to build your own neural network
I think
architecture.
it's a very good comparison, yes.
Yeah. And then, and also, but what I found something else with DGL was, I can't remember now. But that's the main thing. I just say, now that I know Stellar Graph well, I'll look at DGL and see if I can clearly characterize it. And that's pretty much what it was. And that's probably it for me for graph stuff for quite a while, except for on the side. So I doubt I'll be able to use that at work for quite a while. But anyway.
Yeah, I'll check out power normalization. I didn't know this. This might be useful. Okay.
Yeah, the funny thing is the example in Stellar Graph is actually from an old version of Stellar Graph. It doesn't exist.
Yuri has a message in the chat. He says, "Can you guys hear me?" No, we cannot.
We can't hear you. Yeah. So you do seem unmuted, but I don't hear anything. So, But yeah, no, I'm going to try to listen to some more of those the videos and stuff when I can and learn more. Because I really have my goal, of course, is just to understand the affordances. You know what I mean? So I have it in my head, and like, wow, I can apply it. And so I'd say I'm about 30% there of understanding the affordances of the libraries and everything. So I mean, I don't necessarily need to know how to architect things, but just how to use it.
Right.
I do hope to circle back around, and I love PyTorch. I hope to circle back around and start learning the basics at some point. So, including CNN, since they're so fundamental to everything in a lot of ways. Anyway, what else, CG? You got something else?
No, this was it. For the other two TWIML things are progressing nicely, but that's pretty much it. Yeah. Work-wise, it's mostly not really that interesting. But
yep. And Yuri, I see you rejoined.
Yeah. Sorry, I was. I'm switching my audio because, I think people started complaining. I didn't realize my audio from Linux was through Bluetooth was pretty bad. So now I do audio through the phone. But I guess as I was doing that, I could not. I was trying to do it on the computer. I couldn't with Zoom. It wasn't like. There's a feature you can join with without audio, but if meeting is being recorded, at least in the browser, I can't get that feature. But yeah.
Huh. Yeah. You sound really good now.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah.
So
I'm on.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll try to I'll buy wide. I think people at work basically said they started buying wired Macs, wired microphones. To, if they use Linux as the main. I have a quick question. So for the Hugging Face, did you guys switch to Hugging Face Slack or like
yes,
Hugging Face? Okay.
There is a Discord server.
Is it Discord or because they have a Slack also?
Yeah, they have a Slack also. You have to sign up, and they'll send you an invite for that.
Oh, yeah, I did.
Okay.
But you're doing it basically on their main. You're discussing it on their main like forum.
Yeah. So far we are supposed to go on the Discord and discuss. So far we have like 4 or 5 people. Arto is the only one who is really active. I mean, he went in and he set up the VM, the cloud VM they gave us. The cloud VM, I thought they were supposed to give it to us on 7th, but apparently they just did it early. So, again, so it's like crashing a little bit on our side to, get started. But I just posted the Discord thing in there. I don't know if you can get in. I think they might.
So I signed up for the event.
Okay.
And I saw that at some point. I saw that live lectures, but I had crazy time at work, so I could not listen live. But I'm hoping are they going to post them, or are they posting them already?
Some of them they are, some of them they are not. I think they're saying that we have recorded the video. Go watch the video. I think they will share the recordings of the video, and we can see the slides from there. But let me so if you have signed up, they should send you a Slack invite, and also once you get that, you have to go and sign up for one of the teams, right? So you can sign up for, so the team that we have is the Risk CD. If you want to join us, I mean, or you can find something else if you prefer. Let me. There is a list. There was some list here. Let me go back to the message board. So maybe they have the list here, I think. So the discussion forum has a link to the Slack, not Slack. I think Arto might have to give you.
I cannot open Discord for some reason. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah,
But
I think you need to be invited.
okay.
Here, so this is the. I think this you might be able to see. This is the project, the list of the projects and all the team members. And if you go to clip.
Oh, I see it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let me look for clip.
Clip and nerf.
Line 42, row 42. Clip, fine-tune clip on satellite images. And the next one is the discussion forum. So you go to the discussion forum, and towards the bottom, Arto has a link to the Discord.
Okay.
So I think that might contain the invite link. I have the raw Discord link once it's, once I'm in.
Is there an announcement of this the event? I don't see it.
So Mayank, that is Cataluna. So he posted on the PyTorch page. Let me the DL PyTorch page, and a bunch of us jumped in.
Right. Let me see. Hugging face. Jax. How about that? Bet.
Yeah, Hugging Face post in paper. Okay, this is the one. Copy link.
Oh, open to the community. Community week using Jax Slacks for whatever. That's the general announcement. Okay. Yeah. That's at the community forum.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, okay. I see there is a. So yeah, I see the paper.
Oh, it is Google.
What's
no? Flax. I see. Huh. What is Flax?
So this is Flax is basically a object-oriented wrapper on top of Jax.
Oh, I get it. It's it's an abstraction on top of it. Sure. Google wrote Flax. It's Google's Flax. Okay. I get it. Nice.
Okay, can I ask you? So I'm looking at the paper, but what's the so the I don't understand the whole image caption part. Is it really generation of image caption, or is it like co-processing image captions and data?
So images and captions, they are basically projected onto the same space, right?
Yeah.
So now, so images and its captions, an image and its caption are close together in that space. So therefore, if you give it a caption, it should be able to find images that are around in that space. Similarly, if you give it an image, it can find close images. If you give it an image, it can find close captions. So in that way, it'll be a generative model. If you give it like a caption and you ask it to give you an image, it could be like a search model, right? Or if you say, here's an image, give me another image, it could be like a similarity model, also could be used for search. Right?
Okay. But it cannot generate captions. It can only look up captions that were.
I think it can generate as well. So if you give it an image, it should be able to generate based on what it knows.
Okay, and that's clip.
That's clip, yeah, and it's based on a transformer. So that's the high level. Again, like I said, I have watched Yannick Kilcher's thing, but that's about it. I haven't read the paper. Yeah, and I've been trying to attend all these lectures the last 3 days, and by and large, I have attended. Some of them I thought were not very interesting, at least for me. So I'm looking more for as a user. I'm not so interested in the coolness of JAX. And also I'm probably not going to be building stuff on top of JAX by itself, right? There are people who are building their own multi GPU or multi TPU training regimes out of that. I'm not going to be doing that. I'll pick up somebody else's training regime and just use it. So yeah. So I'm more interested in the application side. So, those were the ones that I kind of paid attention to.
And you're most interested from a search point of view, right?
Search or even classification, other stuff also. Search is my current thing now, because I'm on a team that is looking at search. So I'm going back and starting to consider search-ish things.
So I looked at it from like a different project's perspective. So I studied. So we're using SBERT, sentence transformers, and the main author actually, I think he either joined Hugging Face full time or working now there part time. Okay. But they just released the next version of sentence transformers. They call it version 2. I haven't tried it yet, but it's I don't know, supposed to be. It's also hosted within Hugging Face. But he's also bringing basically for this development spread.
Yes, and he has a huge team. So teams are supposed to be size of 10. Last I looked, he had around 44 people on his team. Okay. So he's like a celebrity, right? I mean, people just gravitate towards him because of who he is. I'm not sure how many of them will actually do any work on his team, but he's got this massive team, and he plans to train a SentenceBot model on, tons of text, right? And so that's his thing. But I think there'll be, sub offshoots of his team at some point, because they might break it up into different pieces, or they might have this huge one, with multiple TPUs. Maybe they'll get in.
Yeah, so I haven't. I don't want to take time off work for this, but it seems that
yeah, I think that might be necessary. I am doing it, so we'll see. How much I can use that. Yeah.
But I'll probably. So this weekend, I think there are no TWIML meetings.
Oh, there isn't. I think DL PyTorch is there. Hang on, week 13, July 3rd, we are having one, and
okay.
Yeah, and the graph one is the originator of the leader is based out of England. So for her,
so they're not
July
celebrating 4th of July.
Yeah, they don't exist. July 4th doesn't exist for them.
Oh, okay. But yeah, I was thinking maybe I'll catch up on the videos.
Yes, yeah. I think that makes sense. Yeah. Also, there is a page if you prefer reading, and which I kind of do. Here, Google Flex, not this one. Blogmaster Research Projects, I think this one. Let me just go figure it out. Yeah, FlexCheck Community Week. So there is a huge GitHub README, which has the schedule and the links, and not only the links to the talks or I think the links to the Zoom links are obviously, those are not going to work, but I don't know if they have the recordings up there, but they have a lot of material which I also have to go through myself.
Oh, okay, cool. Thank you.
Also, not trying to push you into our project, but the one that we did we are doing clip on satellite imagery. One possible use for you work-wise might be to detect effects of climate change on different areas. So.
But the images are fixed, right? You're using the existing data set.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but then you could probably, okay, assuming we train it well, you could pass in pictures, of some drought-ravaged place, and a satellite image, and say, okay, give me more like this, and then you could find out where they are from and so on. So yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. So the thing is that I'll definitely look at it. So the thing is that what we kind of I came to realize and I don't know if it's based on how people work on this problem, or that's a really reflection of the nature of the problem, but really all the tracking changes in like agriculture, like crop classification, or trying to like detect droughts, those are not really like a 2D. They're not like a map. They're not driven by map, but mainly driven by time series.
I see. Okay. Yeah, that's I would think. Yeah. Okay, you're right.
Yeah. So people do like a kind of a 3D, try to like put together the directions, XY direction, and then have time directions.
Okay.
But usually everybody just do pixel-wise time series.
I see. Okay. Right. Yeah, that would make the most sense actually, and because you would see the changes over time. That's what you care about.
Yeah. But yeah, I'll definitely look at. Yeah. So that's. Yeah, I wanted to ask about this event. So at work, we actually had a week-long agile training. I think it's an interesting experience. I've worked with agile before. I think I don't know, it's not a great methodology for a research projects, but I guess it works well for like delivering software. So we're like learning how to incorporate agile things into our process now.
So how do you do that? Are you part? Is it in terms of teams? It's really a development team thing, or is it also in terms of into your individual daily process, productivity process? I mean, how are they approaching it?
So they didn't tell us, right? So they and that was my initial complaint, is that they didn't tell us about like July 6th we're gonna we're gonna go agile. But I think I'd rather prefer that if they tell us like, oh well, we want you to start delivering faster. We think agile will help you. Go try it. Instead, they trained us, and we were sort of like using agile-like methodology before, but nobody really like followed like strict guidelines. So I think they will start incorporate, like basically they left it up to individual teams to kind of self-organize. So we'll see. But the research part is clearly not going to be agile. So.
I mean, it actually would. Yeah, you don't usually see that. It's almost always software development. Yeah, but theoretically it would work well for that. But I've never seen agile done well. I've just seen, the artifacts used, the tools, and stand-ups, and stand-ups, and and in a way it does create. I mean, my fundamental understanding of the reason for agile and the use of it is sort of like a signal. It's sort of like a noise reducer and creates predictability within it. very changing environment, so that you wall, for short periods of time, you wall off. Everyone goes to their desk and works, and then you touch base every day. But then it's sort of supposed to like reduce the noise from project management, and then from the business by giving some sort of somewhat predictable, form of information back and forth. It's all because software development, is so unpredictable. Like research.
Yeah, I've seen it done well once. This was a while back when I was at CNET, which is like 6 + 8 years, and maybe 2 years add to that, so 16 years ago. This was like when Agile was just coming up. There was one guy, so the things I learned from it was estimation. So the guy told us that, you can start accurately estimating only if you break your job down into 4-hour or smaller chunks, right? Half a day or smaller. So estimation was one thing. The other thing I learned was burn down charts. Like it's really, it's lets numbers do the talking. So there were times when I would commit dates, right? So it's okay, I'll be done by then. And this guy would come and say, based on your estimates, here's my burn down chart. And it says you'll be like a week late, you have basically overcommitted by a week, right? So things like that. I mean, and that was the only time I've actually seen it work, right? I don't remember if we did stand-ups. I think the guy used to come around, talk to us directly, right? So he would come down like 5 minutes every day. He just, go around with the entire team. And I don't think we did stand-ups, at least maybe I'm misremembering. But the ones that I've, attended lately, like so I'm doing stand-ups now, and we're doing an Agile thing now. 2 years before, I was also doing an Agile thing with the, same division, not the same group. And in both cases, it seems to me that it's mostly, it's like micromanagement by the project manager this time. So I don't see much, benefit to the stand-ups either. I mean, it's basically all of us telling the project manager what we are doing, right? There is no inter-engineer communication, right? So this is discouraged, basically. So if I put forward a question and say, since all of us here are here, I want to ask a question, see if anybody knows. It just gets covered, it says, okay, take it offline, please, move on, right? So I don't know. I mean, I don't find it really great, at least in its current incarnation.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit like machine learning, right? We do all these complicated things, and we end up publishing the simplest thing with the not very high precision recall. But then the business is happy with that, and I get called academic for saying, well, the way we did it, it's not really. We should probably go back. No, don't readdress it. Just keep moving. It's fine. Actually, it called me. My boss said, you don't need to, too academic. I'm not academic at all, for God's sake. But that's sort of the way that, I see the Scrum stuff, it seems like, right? Because it takes too much skill to make it happen, you know what I mean, in the business world. But it's had a very positive effect, because if you think about pre-Scrum, right, methods, pre-Agile methods, it was waterfall, right? Mm-hmm. It was like completely inappropriate.
True, so, totally true.
Yeah, for modern software development. So all the artifacts and tools and some of the techniques definitely have been a huge improvement. But yeah, I experienced when it first came out too, so that's why it's interesting to reflect on it, right? Mm-hmm. From 18, 16 years ago. So.
It was okay. I thought, like, for a while when we just like, and actually in current company was like they're using tools. Like tools are used greatly because they organize really good process. And as the person who was like doing training was like learning, because he kind of came in and he will be with us for a while, but his like he was brought in to like improve process. He basically says, yeah, you have like all the like basic all processes are pretty good, right? Would we have, we don't have like full automated testing where we can improve. We do release. We don't do continuous releases. That's probably, you know, the release takes a lot of effort. We have huge backlogs. Like basically, we tend to like generate issues and then like not solve them. Yeah, but yeah, it should help us.
Yeah,
I remember like yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
no, the CI/CD and unit testing bits are actually really good additions. I actually forgot about them. We didn't used to do them, but since I've been doing that since then, it doesn't even register anymore. It's just part of the furniture kind of. But yeah,
Yep.
you're right. Those are huge things.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really about agile. It's really about modern software development. That's all. You guys are taking your next step and consolidating
Right.
into the different, whether they're project management tools. I don't know if you already have things in place for that, or deployment, right? And it's DevOps is almost part of that whole, Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I remember the first time I was using it was the whole idea is that tasks on the board and anybody can grab any tasks. So you have your code and then next person goes in and messes it up, and yeah, it's a different.
The coolest new idea I've seen, maybe it's not very new, is guilds, forming guilds, and I just don't know if anyone will do it. I tried to talk with people about it at my company, but there's no way. But the idea, there's a couple different ways of doing it, but the idea is you allow 10% of people volunteer and say, look, in the dev, your dev meetings, you ask, I want to form a guild, and what the guilds are like, this is a thing that's been killing us every time we try to do this, and I want to fix it. And I can't fix it because I'm, constantly being resourced. And so a group of people who are enthusiastic about it, 2, 3, 4, whatever, how many people get together, and they explicitly are managed to use 10 or 20% of the time for a month to solve the problem, right? But usually they're problems that are like really going to help everybody's efficiency, but nobody ever gets to. And it creates a lot of satisfaction, right? You can imagine doing that. It's very satisfying. So, but it's just, I just wonder how many companies actually can do something like that or are willing to. I think it's a great idea, you know what I mean? Because in terms of retention of your talent and just, taking advantage of opportunities. I mean, the three of us are able to sort of do that on our own, right? In a way. But most people can't and don't, but have that impulse. And I wanted to do it for, NLP stuff, get a team. But anyway, that was interesting, the guild. I heard on our podcast, there's some books on it, and a couple guys that write about it. But
yeah, we have guilds, but we don't, I don't know if it'll even work for us in this way. So mainly guilds are like special interest groups. We don't have, any deliverables. It's basically organizing talks and stuff. So, yeah, we have a search guild, which I'm a member of, which we do a internal conference every year. And, you accept papers and review them and whatnot, right? So,
I mean, that's just basically the idea of cross-project,
exactly.
cross-organizational groups that have an interest together. So
right.
Yeah. I mean,
and
that's
so we
good
get to know, end of the year, we get to know what LexisNexis is up to during, their internals, right? And they know what we are doing and so forth. So, yeah.
All right, Yuri, did you have anything else?
Yeah. So I wanted to mention. I don't know. Have you guys seen Copilot?
Yes.
GitHub Copilot.
Yes.
What is it?
I haven't tried it yet. So it's OpenAI, like GPT-3 and Microsoft, who now owns GitHub, put it together, and the thing does coding for you. So like, how like with GPT-3, you can like basically generate anything. So this thing, trained on Git and.
I would have to say that moving to something like VS Code, because I heard this thing about, I think they call it Excalibur, but it's their project. Maybe they've deployed it already, but it's they call them code servers, I think.
Mhm.
Is that the official name? You guys heard of those? But basically IDEs are, especially VS Code, right? You can use the code server, and when you're using the code server, it's like it's like autocomplete on steroids, and it does all sorts of. And they were talking about how they're going to implement ML in that as well, right? So at some point, your IDE is going to become very critical because you're going to have stuff like you were just talking about there, Yuri, right? Where you have code generation, right? You can imagine all sorts of ways where it could speed up your coding.
And I think it only works with VS Code now. Because
there you go. I mean, I can't get comfortable with VS Code. I've got to give it another shot. Because so much of the tutorials, at least when I looked a year ago, were around website stuff, running websites, and also Docker Compose too was like that. But at some point, it's us old guys need to tool up, because it's going to become very interesting and useful. It seems like.
Yeah. It's actually quite.
I mean,
good.
I'm using I use Notepad++, right? I mean, that thing's awesome, but it's simple. It's not an IDE,
Right,
and I use that in IPython, and notebooks now have become my biggest IDE, right?
Yeah, you can write notebooks from within VS Code as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it's like all the environments are integrated there.
Right. Yeah.
It's crazy, but have either of you guys tried it out?
Yeah, I've used it. I use VS Code as my primary IDE. So.
Well, I should do it then. That way. If I get screwed, I can.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Initially, I just used. Yeah, I think it's pretty good. Initially, I used it for Python, but now I use it for Scala and sometimes Java as well. So yeah.
And do you use it for notebooks ever? Like remote notebook development or anything?
Not remote yet, but you can use it for remote notebooks. I use it mainly for local Jupyter notebooks.
Yeah, the funny thing is now that I have access to GCP Vertex notebooks, and I've learned how to like clone repositories in there and all that stuff. I have not used my local Jupyter for like months now. It's like I've gone through the evolution sort of using the heck out of containers to almost not needing them now. So
Sujit, when you're using VS Code, do you ever connect to remote machine?
Not yet. I haven't tried that, but I believe you can, but that's about all I know.
So yeah,
that's my biggest. That's my biggest kind of like stumbling block right now, because we switched to have to run on GPUs. I don't have local GPU anymore because that was like really bad experience. So GPUs on AWS, and majority of I can do experiments with notebooks, but the main code has to be scripts have to be source code. So the only option is VI, which I don't know well, and I guess I can do like there's an Emacs there, but actually like I hate like those like.
Right. Yeah. The workflow I use, I do this a lot too, because we don't have GPUs in our local boxes anymore. We are encouraged to use AWS. So when I write code for exploratory purposes, I would use notebooks using SSH port forwarding. But usually if I have to run big jobs, because your connection can terminate and then it will not work. So I use NoHop to run it in script mode. So I convert my experiment into a script locally using VS Code or whatever. Actually using VS Code, and then I SCP it, right? So I don't maintain a Git repository on the remote machine. I maintain a Git repository only on the local machine. So, every time I change something, I can do a Git status and see what changed, and I just copy those up, right? So, that way I have a very good control over, I'm basically doing all my development work and I'm just SCPing over. And usually if you are doing like one script, you don't need to touch a lot of files, right? So it's usually just one script. You can just use the history, up arrow bang, so it goes up and then you just start running. So I have two windows open on, one local, one remote, and I just run the thing on the remote.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it takes a little bit of getting used to, but once you're used to it, it's it's not inconvenient at all, right? It's in your mental model. Just takes. It's like your fingers do that thing, right? You don't think anymore.
Yeah, I know people use it. I haven't seen. I guess VS Code can do it, but I've seen people do it with Atom.
Mm-hmm.
It was another editor that had that plugin for remote connection.
Yes. In fact, today I found that how to do it on SSH to your TPU instances, right? TPU VMs. So if I find it, it's buried in that long README somewhere. So if I find it, I will point it out to you.
Oh, cool.
I thought that it was that VS Code had all that built in.
Yes, it is built in, but the instructions are there somewhere in that thing, how to connect. So we can probably use it. I haven't used it, but it's probably time that I learn how to.
Yeah, there's also SSHFS that you can use, I think, to see the full file system connected to the remote file system too. I think I had a hard time with the SS. You know who got this all working? Who does this? I think is Gotham. I can't remember, but a while ago he explained how to use remote containers. I think, and anyway. Yes, that's the thing I got stuck on because that's why I wanted to use it. You know what I mean? So that I could, have easy interactions with the VM and with the containers on the VM and then with my containers, all that stuff. Yeah, there's this. I'm sure you've seen this, both you guys, but let me post it anyway. See what this says. Okay, I just posted something to Slack. To Zoom.
Okay.
Anyway, it's pretty short.
Okay.
It has this, remote via. So on the bottom, it shows you the 4 tutorials: remote via SSH, developing containers. Anyway.
Okay. Cool. Yeah.
All right. Was there, Yuri? Was there anything else there?
Oh no.
CG, you got anything else?
Nope.
All right, guys. I think we'll call it. I'll call and we'll talk next week.
All right. Okay.
All right.
Okay. Thanks.
Sure.
Bye.
All right. Bye.